Hi, and welcome to the Watching Books podcast, the podcast where we discuss books that have only been adapted to both film and stage. I'm Victoria.
I'm Laura.
How are you?
Well, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm not very comfortable, so if I'm shifting around a lot, it's only because I pulled a muscle in my back or something. I tripped into bed the other night, and I guess this is what happens after your 30s is you just fall apart.
Ha ha ha. You have no idea, but we won't get into that.
I feel like I had an update for you, but I can't remember what it is. Do you have any updates?
My life's pretty much the same. I did start watching something though.
What did you start watching?
Well, I just happened to see it, and it's called Sanditon. It is an unfinished work by Jane Austen, and of course that piqued my interest.
Sanditon? Oh,
Sandito.
and an unfinished work.
Right. So I started watching it. Apparently, it's 3 seasons. Season 1 is on Prime, and I think it said it goes off in 4 days, so maybe, like, the end of October, it's done. But I'm watching it going, "This doesn't seem very Jane Austen." There were literal lines taken straight from Pride and Prejudice. There is
Hmm.
a very Sense and Sensibility feel to it, but I'm also
Hmm.
seeing Vanity Fair, and I'm seeing War and Peace, and a little of Cranford. Bits and
Oh,
pieces seem like Jane Austen, but it's very, very different.
so
Um,
Austen with seasonings of Gaskell and Tolstoy and whoever wrote Vanity Fair.
yes. It's something
Interesting.
else, and I only know 2 people in it. The first is Chris Marshall. I only know him from Love Actually. He plays that crazy little guy, Colin, who goes off to America.
He was also in that wild version of Dr. Zhivago, but the one with Keira Knightley.
I saw that. Who was he?
Wasn't he Keira Knightley's husband who was also a villain? It's been so long.
I don't
And she
remember.
was like 16. It was such a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't
I think he
remember.
was married to her. I think he was her husband.
I have to say, it has been very nice watching him in an adult role, a more serious role, instead of that goofy role in Love Actually. So I know him in Sanditon. He has a main role, Mr. Parker. Another one with a main role is Mr. Parker's middle brother. I kept looking at him going, "He is so familiar, but I don't know where I know him." And so I finally looked him up on IMDb. He is in a very infamous scene, one episode of Downton Abbey. He plays Mr. Pamuk.
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
And we're not here to give any spoilers for Downton, so I'm not
No,
going to. But it is a
it's memorable.
critical episode of Downton Abbey, which
In the first
lasts
season. So if you're curious, it doesn't take long to get there.
no, it's like the 3rd episode maybe of season
Second or third
1?
episode. It does not take long.
Yes. Mr. Pamuk. So it's the only other thing I've ever seen him in.
Wow. You know, we're getting closer to Christmas time, Mom, and Love Actually definitely does not fall within the bounds of our podcast framework. But I will just take a moment to say that Love Actually is one of the most problematic movies I've ever seen in my life. And at the same time, it is also weirdly charming despite the problems. And I'm trying to think if there's a single storyline that makes a lick of sense. And I don't think there is. I think no. I take it back. The storyline with Liam Neeson and Thomas Brody Sangster.
Yeah.
That's the best one. Of all the different vignettes of stories that we see through that movie, that's the best one. Their relationship. Father and stepson.
It's wonderful, wonderful relationship. They
Yeah.
are precious. They portray it very well. It's beautiful.
But performances from everyone are stellar. Fantastic performances. I love everyone in the movie.
Emma Thompson and Alan Rickman.
They're undefeatable. You can't beat either of their performances. in that
Mhm.
movie. I'm revisiting kind of a comfort series for me. I'm rewatching The Queen's Gambit, starring Anya
Oh,
Taylor-Joy.
yeah.
You know how much I love that series, and I've seen it, I don't even know how many times now. I made you and dad watch it. I needed everybody in my life to watch that miniseries when it came out, and I'm rewatching it now because 'cause I'm also following along while there's a channel I like to follow, Bad Medicine. They are watching it now, and it is driving me crazy waiting for them to put out each episode each week as they react to it. So I'm watching it again myself because I just love it so much.
So, your dad and I just finished last night Lockerbie. Yeah. It was very, very good, and it's about the 1988 crash of the Pan Am flight that fell apart, everything happened, the explosion over Lockerbie, Scotland, and Colin Firth is in that, and he does a fabulous job, and Catherine McCormick, who plays Mel Gibson's love interest in Braveheart, she's in it.
Yes.
It's the only other thing I've ever seen her in. She and Colin are married in this. They were so good. I think it was only 6 episodes long. I cried in 4 of them. It
Wow.
was so emotional. Catherine's performance will break your heart. It
Mm.
is so beautiful, but it's very depressing, and last night I said, "I've gotta watch something happen." I put in Pride and Prejudice with Colin
I
Firth. I needed something happy.
was about to say that I think Colin Firth is sort of gonna be a staple on this podcast. He's gonna be mentioned a lot.
He's a fan
Um,
favorite.
well, are you reading anything?
I started my next book club book, and I can't for the life of me tell you the name of it. I'm only 2 chapters in, and it's okay. What about you?
I said in one of our previous episodes that I finished the Harry Potter series. I finished reading that to Eli, my oldest. I was like, "Well, this is it. That's the end of an era." And he talked me into it, but now I'm reading Ella Enchanted to him.
You are!
We are several chapters in.
You could read the Inkheart series to him, and Inkheart now has a 4th book, Ink World: The Color of Revenge, and I have never read it, but I got this recently. I'm very excited.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never finished Ink Death, so I've never finished the series. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
It's a
I could
lot.
read it to him, and maybe that's not a bad idea, actually, because then we could discover the ending together. I would have no idea what's gonna happen.
And then
Um,
you can read
it's not a bad
this, you could
idea.
borrow this from me.
Yeah, that's a beautiful cover.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Do you wanna know what I'm drinking tonight?
Wine.
Yeah, but it's a very specific kind of wine.
Tell me your wine selection.
The wine I'm drinking is called the Squished Witch. I need to post a picture of
Cute.
it on our Instagram. Yeah,
Definitely.
follow us on Instagram at watching_books. Thank you. But the Squished Witch, um, it is from the Oz Winery in Wamego, Kansas. And this is like a dessert wine. It's very sweet. It's not usually my favorite. My favorite of theirs is the Drunken Munchkin. It's really good. But every bottle of wine that they have is Oz themed. So with that, would you like to announce what book we're watching, Mom?
I think we could be watching The Wizard of Oz.
The
Ta-da!
Wizard of Oz.
My sister and I grew up with this a fabulous pop-up book of The Wizard of Oz. It's similar to this one. I feel like ours was better.
Yes. So to our listeners, Mom is showing on our YouTube, she's showing a beautiful pop-up book of The Wizard of Oz.
So, it is very, very pretty. I read it to your little girl, and it has little emerald
Oh,
city glasses
cute.
that you could put on, but it's very cool. So, The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, and like Victoria said, Little Wamego, Kansas, it's all about Oz. They have Oztoberfest every October, and they have a Yellow Brick Road, and they have the Oz Museum, which is incredible. Just a really great little town to
Mhm.
go to and visit.
Yes, and the Oz
Yeah.
Museum has been recently renovated. It looks so good.
I'll
It's
have to
amazing.
see it. I'll have to go
So,
back.
to those of you who actually listened to our Sleepy Hollow episode, the Oz Museum is just a couple doors down. It's on the same strip as the theater where I met my husband when we did Sleepy Hollow with mom.
All right, so The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. We're just going to think, maybe some people don't actually know what this is. So let me give you just a little recap of what this is about. For everyone listening, we will spoil everything for you. We will spoil this story. We will spoil the movie. We will spoil the show. Everything. This is your spoiler alert. And I think though that so many people have seen this and grown up with it. I know a lot of the younger generation may not have. So this is your chance to perhaps go out and find that movie and watch it because it is absolutely fabulous. So, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. It is about a young girl named Dorothy, and she lives on a small farm in Kansas with her Aunt Em, Uncle Henry, and her little dog Toto. And one day, a powerful cyclone sweeps across the prairie and carries Dorothy's entire house high into the air. When it finally lands with a crash, she steps outside to find herself in a bright, colorful country, the land of Oz. Her house has come down upon the Wicked Witch of the East, killing her and freeing the Munchkin people from her cruel rule. The Good Witch of the North greets Dorothy and gives her the Dead Witch's magic silver shoes. Dorothy wants nothing more than to return home to Kansas, and the Good Witch tells her the only person who might help her is the Great Wizard of Oz, who lives in the Emerald City. To reach him, Dorothy must follow the yellow brick road. So Dorothy sets out with Toto. Along the way, she meets three unusual companions. First is the Scarecrow. He's hanging from a pole in a cornfield and wishes he had a brain. Then comes the Tin Woodman, rusted still in the forest, who longs for a heart. Finally, the Cowardly Lion joins them, hoping the wizard can give him courage. The four friends travel together, each seeking what they feel they lack. Their journey is long and full of trials. They are attacked by savage wolves, poisonous poppies, and enchanted beasts. But they help one another and press on. When they finally reach the Emerald City, they are each taken separately before the wizard. Strangely, he appears to each of them in a different form. A great head to Dorothy, a lovely woman, a terrible beast, and a ball of fire. The wizard agrees to help them all, but only on one condition. They first must destroy the Wicked Witch of the West. Though frightened, they set out at once. In the western land, the witch sees them coming and tries to stop them. She sends wolves, crows, and winged bees, but each time the travelers defend themselves. Finally, the witch uses her golden cap to summon the winged monkeys, who capture Dorothy and the lion, scatter the scarecrow, and dent the Tin Woodsman. Dorothy is made the witch's slave. The witch is determined to steal her silver shoes, for she knows their power. The witches were sisters, the witch of the west and the witch of the east. When the witch tricks her into losing one shoe, Dorothy's anger flares and she throws a bucket of water at her tormentor. To Dorothy's shock, the wicked witch melts away into nothing but a puddle. Dorothy and her friends rejoice. The Winky people, now free, repair and polish the Tin Woodman, stuff the Scarecrow with fresh straw, and celebrate their freedom. The travelers return to the Emerald City with the witch's golden cap to show they have fulfilled their task. When they present themselves to the wizard, Toto accidentally pulls aside a curtain, revealing that the mighty wizard is no wizard at all. He's an ordinary man from Omaha, Nebraska, who arrived in Oz long ago when his hot air balloon drifted off course. The people thought he was powerful, so he let them believe it. He admits his deception, but tries to help as best he can. He gives the Scarecrow a mixture of bran and pins for brains, the Tin Woodman a silk cart filled with sawdust, and the Lion a drink he calls courage. They are satisfied, realizing they've had the qualities they sought all along. The wizard plans to take Dorothy home in his balloon, but when Toto runs off at the last moment, Dorothy chases him, and the balloon rises without her. Once again, she is stranded in Oz. Determined not to give up, Dorothy sets out with her friends to find the Good Witch of the South, Glinda, who may know another way to help her return home. Their southern journey is full of strange adventures. They pass through a land of porcelain people, fight fierce beasts, and cross a great desert. At last, they reach Glinda's beautiful palace. Glinda welcomes Dorothy kindly and tells her the secret. The silver shoes she has been wearing have the power to carry her anywhere she wishes to go. Dorothy realizes she could have gone home long ago. But she's glad she made the journey and gained so many dear friends. Before leaving, she gives Glinda the golden cap, which Glinda uses to free the winged monkeys forever. The Scarecrow returns to rule the Emerald City, the Tin Woodman becomes Emperor of the Winkies, and the Lion goes back to the forest to lead the animals. Dorothy kisses them all goodbye, clicks the heels of her silver shoes together 3 times, and wishes to go home. Instantly, she is carried through the air, faster and faster, until she opens her eyes and finds herself back in Kansas, standing in the sunshine near the farmhouse with Toto in her arms. She runs to Aunt Em, crying, "I'm so glad to be home again." And that's the story of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, a tale of courage, friendship, and the discovery that what we seek is often already within us.
That's it. That's it
That's
in a
it.
nutshell.
I want to get my book out, and I have it in this really cool bag. Ta-da!
Oh, look at that. What a nice bag. That sure looks like the Watching Books
What?
podcast logo on your bag.
Isn't this a great bag? So, thank you so much to Myeisha. She is with Uniqueness in Stitching right out of Clarksville, Tennessee. And she digitized our logo and she embroidered bags for us. So, this is amazing. And I will include her email and her phone number if anybody wants to use her services and see what she does. She also does direct to film printing, and the shirts are amazing. Like my sweatshirt, I can feel my little ghosts, but the direct to film, it looks like something you buy in a store. It is in your shirt. I don't know how it's done, but it's amazing, and she does that too. So shout out to Maisha. Thank you so much.
She's so talented. Oh,
Very.
here's my copy of The Wizard of Oz. So we both showed off our copy on our YouTube page.
Yes. To share a tiny tidbit about L. Frank Baum that I failed to do during, you're not going to believe this, Meet Me in St. Louis. Your face says it all.
So this is a fact about L. Frank Baum that you did not mention during our Meet Me in St. Louis episode?
Yes, this is great.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yes, at the party in Meet Me in St. Louis, Esther asks Tootie if she wants to sing Did You Ever See a Rabbit Climb a Tree? And this is in the book, it's in the
Mhm.
musical, and Tootie doesn't want to sing that, but Did You Ever See a Rabbit Climb a Tree was a little poem written by L. Frank Baum, and it was in the Songs of Father Goose.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So Judy Garland has a tiny little hidden shout out, an Easter egg, if you will, to L. Frank
Yeah.
Baum in Meet Me in St. Louis.
And
Oh,
that just happened to be that way because it was in the book.
but how did you figure that out? Is my question.
It was the documentary that I watched on the making of Meet Me in St. Louis.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because I'm a nerd and I like watching all that.
Here's a little fun fact about my copy of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. I don't have the original illustrations in my copy, so for anyone who has never read the book, The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, There are original illustrations. Mom, do you know who the original illustrator is?
Is it W. Denslow?
I need to see an illustration and I can tell you. Can you show me? Yes, those look like the original illustrations. So the original illustrator of The Wizard of Oz was who, Mom?
W. Denslow.
Yes. Wow, he was born in 1856 and died in 1915. I cannot believe how old this book is. The Wizard of Oz was written in 1900.
Okay.
So it is much older than I realized, actually. Um, and the original
125 years.
Yes. And the original illustrator was W. Denslow. So, Mom, your copy of The Wizard of Oz has the original illustrations in it. If anyone has ever read the books, they will probably recognize his illustrations. But my copy is the original story by L. Frank Baum, but the illustrations are new. And this illustrator was Greg Hildebrandt. And this book was a gift to me from Glenn and Joy Evans from Virginia, where you and I did shows for them. They were our directors
Mhm.
in several shows, and they honestly made me fall in love with theater. And they made theaters not just enjoyable, they made it beloved to me. They made it family, if that makes any sense, and they taught me so much about theater. So you got me into it, and you taught me a lot about theater, obviously, because of your background, but they taught me more. They just expanded on that, and I adore them. And when we moved away, when Dad joined the Army and we were leaving Virginia, they gifted me with this copy of The Wizard of Oz, which was Joy Evans' personal copy. And so it means a lot to me, and I'm really grateful to have it. This edition, I think, is from 1985. Yes, which funny enough is the year my husband was born. I absolutely love this copy, but I wanna give a shout out to them because I love and adore you, Glenn and Joy.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. They're wonderful.
Can I tell you the first thing that I notice about the book that weirds me out, and I don't know why this stands out to me so much or why it bugs me. L. Frank Baum refers to the storm that lifts Dorothy's house and lands it on the Wicked Witch of the East. He refers to that as a cyclone. Every time we talk about the storm, it's a cyclone. And I thought that was weird because I just always call it a tornado. And I thought, is there a difference between a cyclone and a tornado? And there is. And what actually lifted Dorothy's house was a tornado, not
Mhm.
a cyclone. And I know it's a really silly thing to get hung up on, but I'm hung up on it.
So what's the difference? What's a cyclone?
Cyclones are formed over water, and tornadoes are formed over land, and they're smaller than cyclones.
Wow, interesting. Being in Kansas, it would definitely be a tornado.
Cyclones can last for days or weeks,
What?
but tornadoes normally last for minutes. And of course, I'm more used to the movie. I grew up watching the movie, not reading the book. So
It's a
watching the
twister.
movie, I'm
It's a
used to
twister.
hearing exactly, it's a twister. It's a twister. That's what I'm used to. Ray Bolger shouting, it's a twister.
I grew up watching the movie, of course, and there were no VCRs, there were no DVDs, there was no cable, there was nothing like that. And so The Wizard of Oz was something that came on once a year on television. It was around Christmas time that it would come out every year. And it was so exciting knowing that we would get to see The Wizard of Oz again. We looked forward to that night every year to get to see The Wizard of Oz and to get to see The Sound of Music, both of those. They were huge. And my dad had the most wonderful story about The Wizard of Oz. I'm getting into the movie, but The Wizard of Oz movie came out in 1939. My dad was 9. But the what surprised me when I read the book, the book is so different from the movie.
So what's the first thing that stands out to you?
All the different characters that we see Silver Shoes,
Yes. Okay, that's major.
that's big. And we know why they did it. We'll get to that. But the different characters, you don't hear about the Winkies, you don't hear about the porcelain people and some of the other creatures that they meet along the way, you don't hear about those. And so it is so fascinating how Frank Baum created this world with these different lands, and they were all over the rainbow, and that was
Yeah.
very, very neat to read about. What was your impression?
Well, I agree. When you read the book, the world of Oz is so much more expansive than what we see in the movie. And this makes sense because we're just trying to get to the point of the story and we're trying to tell a concise tale. We have limited time with a film, but with a book, it can be as long as you want. And he has the time to expand on the world. And plus, he wrote, gosh, I don't even know how many books there are in the full series of The Wizard of Oz. I know he wrote several books after the first one, and then other people came along after him, including some relatives of his, to continue the series. And so there are more sequels than I even know.
His great-grandson, I know, created a children's series, and it was based in the Land of Oz, so that's Roger S. Baum, and I had the honor and privilege of, one Oztoberfest several years ago. Roger and his wife came to Wamego, Kansas, and I was their guide for the few days while they were there. I took them wherever they wanted to go and whatever they wanted to see in the area. We went to the museum, everything. And so it was very, very neat to be able to meet Roger and his wife. I'll have to be sure to put a picture on it so it can be seen on YouTube. But they were very, very sweet.
Oh, it's amazing that he had family members who came after him, descendants who would carry on
Hmm.
the world of Oz and continue his stories. I love that.
Hmm.
And it is so cool that you met him. Really?
No, it
I know my husband met some of the actors who played Munchkins in the movie because he grew up in Wamego, Kansas. A funny thing about that is he feels he can't escape Oz no matter where we go. We even went as far as Germany to visit you guys when y'all were stationed there. And even in Germany, we found references to the Wizard of Oz, and you could find Wizard of Oz merchandise there. And he was like, "You've gotta be kidding me. I can't get away from it."
it's huge.
Well, so you mentioned the silver shoes that the Wicked Witch of the East wears and that Dorothy ends up wearing that the Wicked Witch of the West tries to take from her. And the shoes are a huge plot point, clearly. And when we get to the movie, we'll talk about how they were turned into ruby red slippers and why, because we do know why. But if anyone has never read the book and you are only familiar with the movie, it's very surprising to read the book and go, "They're silver?" And then when we fast forward to more modern day retellings of this story, we get Wicked by Gregory Maguire, and once again, the shoes are silver, as they should be. It's not like it's that important, I guess, but there's ruby red slippers have become so iconic that the silver slippers aren't known at all, honestly. We don't think about the silver slippers and think that they really mean anything. When we think Wizard of Oz, we think Dorothy in her blue gingham dress and ruby red slippers.
Mhm. That's what everybody thinks of. It is iconic, and I think we'll end up saying that a lot on our podcast because that is iconic.
You're right. I think you were wanting to mention something about one of the lands of Oz.
One of the lands that I think would have been so neat to see was the land of the porcelain people.
Mhm.
Maybe that would have been too difficult in 1939, but I really enjoyed that land in the book. These are characters who are small and porcelain. They are breakable, and you have to be very careful with them because they are fragile. But I really enjoyed reading about that land that they go into. They have to cross through that land to get to Glinda's castle. Did any particular land stand out to you?
Honestly, no. I think it's other details that stand out to me more. Here's where it's tough. Do I want a movie remaking of the book? No, I really don't. I'm very happy with the movie as it is. I don't think it should be touched. I think the original MGM film is perfect and we should not remake it. However, I think it would be really cool to see some other things, like to see the Tin Man and his story, to see some of the beasts that they have to fight. It would be interesting to see them have to overcome all of the creatures that the Wicked Witch of the West sends their way as the lion, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and Dorothy are all trying to get to her castle. She sends wolves and bees after them and something else. There was a third thing.
Crows.
Crows,
Crows.
that's right, her crows. So I would like to see that other than just the flying monkeys. In the movie, it's the flying monkeys that have become so iconic and memorable.
I really wish that I had written stuff down as I read instead of putting markers, because now I don't know what my markers mean. But you can help me with this. The Tin Woodman wasn't always made of tin. He was a real human man.
Mhm.
And he was in love with a Munchkin girl who lived with an old woman who didn't want them to be together. So she went to the Wicked Witch who enchanted his axe. And so what happened was he
Mhm.
was chopping wood and chopped off his arm. Well, someone who works with tin made a new arm for him. He's out chopping wood again. He chops off his other arm. Once again, the man made him another arm. He chops off his legs. And then he ends up chopping his body, his everything. And so bless that little tin workman. He made this man's body all of tin. And that's how he became the Tin Woodman. But it was from this curse.
Mhm.
This is a children's book. I would never want my little bitty grandchildren to hear this story about this man cutting his limbs off and, and then becoming tin.
Mhm. So she enchants the axe to make it slip so that he's not of his own volition chopping his limbs off. The axe is doing it against him. And it's so sad
Right.
because as he gets each new limb from the tinsmith, he still loves the Munchkin girl and he wants to marry her. So he keeps working to earn enough money to marry her until finally the Wicked Witch of the East causes the axe to cut him in half. And so, all he has left is his torso. So he cuts his torso in half, and the tinsmith makes him a torso, but he has no heart. And that's when he finally loses his love for the Munchkin girl because he has no heart. It's so sad. And then he rusts, and Dorothy and the Scarecrow find him. But here's the thing, and here's what I noticed rereading it. The Tin Man has the most heart of any other character in the story. He
Hmm.
talks about his feelings so much. He talks about being happy. He talks about feeling sad. Anytime feelings are mentioned, it's usually the Tin Man bringing it up. And I think that's the point is at the very end, they all realize, oh, we had what we needed all along. The cowardly lion wasn't really cowardly. He did the things he was most scared of because he actually had courage. He was afraid, but he did it anyway.
It's the same with the Scarecrow. If they needed to come up with an idea, it always tended to be the Scarecrow who came up with the good idea.
Yeah, I don't think the first time I read this, I didn't catch on to that. And certainly in all my years of watching the movie, nope, never hit me. Just never even crossed my mind that they all had these qualities all along. But rereading the book, thankfully, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm an adult, maybe it's because I'm a therapist, maybe it's because I'm a mom. I have no idea. But rereading it was like, oh my goodness, they do have these qualities. They had them the whole time. It's so satisfying. I like it.
Mhm. The puppy scene was very similar. The lion and Dorothy both fall asleep because of the puppies, but how they're rescued is very different. It was the Mouse Queen.
Yeah. Yes.
The Tin Woodman had a whistle and blew the whistle, and all these mice came, and they had met the mice along the way, and the mice came. There were so many. They picked up the lion and they picked up Dorothy, carrying them on all their little backs and got them out of those poppies. And that's how they were rescued from the poppies in the book.
Yeah. Yes. 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 I have a big thing I want to talk about. One of the things that I think is so different from the movie in such a pervasive way that it has to be noted because the film we've already mentioned, the film is iconic in more ways than one. Dorothy's dress is iconic. The look of the film is iconic. The ruby red slippers, iconic. The yellow brick road, iconic. The green Wicked Witch of the West is iconic. Let's talk about how L. Frank Baum describes the Wicked Witch of the West. He describes her as a short, one-eyed old woman with 3 braids of hair and an eye patch over one eye with bushy eyebrows and mismatched clothes.
Wow.
She has one eye, and that eye has telescopic powers. She could see really far.
Who knows if she was green or not?
Can you imagine if we saw a version of her with 3 braids, one eye, and an eye patch, and bushy eyebrows, and short? She's short. She's a short old woman. She is not the Elphaba we know, and she does not have a name. She is just the Wicked Witch of the West.
Absolutely.
I'm about to give a major spoiler to Wicked, which when this is released has not come out in theaters yet. So for anyone who does not want to hear, I highly suggest that you mute me now. The Wicked Witch of the East also does not have a name. So her sister has no name. She is not in this story Nessa Rose. Okay, the spoiler is over. We are back to just regular spoilers now. Hey, can I talk about the golden cap real quick? How do you picture the cap, Mom?
A pointy, witchy golden hat?
Okay, I always pictured like a newsy style hat or like a golf cap. I did not think of it as like a witch's hat. So I never knew how to picture the golden cap. It always looked weird and mismatched in my head. Um, but I have a funny reference. You read the Sisters Grimm stories by Michael Buckley, right? The whole series. There is a reference to the Wicked Witch of the West in the Sisters Grimm. So if any of our listeners have never read the Sisters Grimm series, it's so worth reading. It should have been made into a mini series a long time ago. It's so good. I'm still waiting for it. I hope it'll happen. But basically, it's about 2 sisters who are descendants of the Brothers Grimm, and they get moved to a place called Fairyport Landing. And turns out everyone there is a real fairy tale character, and we get characters from all the classic fairy tales, including The Wizard of Oz. There's a point where Sabrina Grimm, one of the sisters, the older sister, she is given the golden cap of the Wicked Witch of the West, and she gets to use it. Whoever is wearing the hat can control the flying monkeys. And there's this great scene where she's talking to the magic mirror. It's this little man who lives in a magic mirror. She's talking to him, and he explains to her, he's like, okay, here's what you have to do to use the cap. And she looks at the paper that he gives her, and she's like, you've got to be kidding me. He's like, you got to do it, or it's not going to happen. You don't get to use the monkeys. So she does. She does exactly the instructions that are in L. Frank Baum's The Wizard of Oz, which are to stand upon her left foot and say slowly, Epi, Peppy, Kaki. Next, to stand upon her right foot and say, Hillo, hollow, hello. And after this, to stand upon both feet and cry in a loud voice, Zizzy, Zuzzy, Zick. And then it works. Then you can control the flying monkeys. And it's a great little reference in the Sisters Grimm that I find very funny.
Well, talking about the wizard, we only see him as one thing in the movie, and that's the giant head. We see him as 4 different things in the book, and he appears as the giant head to Dorothy when she goes. The next day, this is over a course of 4 days. The next day, the next day, the scarecrow is called in, and he appears as a lovely lady. And so she's not scary at all for the scarecrow. The next day, the woodman goes in, and he was like, okay, well, if it's a great big head or a lovely lady, I can handle that. It won't be too bad.
Oh,
Well,
right.
he got the most terrible beast, which was as large as an elephant. Very, very scary. Head of a rhinoceros, all of this stuff. And then finally, the cowardly lion goes, and he gets a ball of fire, a giant
Mhm.
ball of fire. So it is interesting to see how different that is from what we grew up watching in the movie. The big head in the movie does have all the fire around it,
Mhm. Yeah.
bursting forth, but kind of a combination of the 2.
You're right. And in any film version we see of this, the wizard
Mhm.
is just a big giant head. And I wonder why.
So in the book, what we don't see in the movie, when they go to Oz, everything's green and it's so bright they are required to wear glasses to protect their eyes. And of course,
Mhm.
they have green lenses as well, so everything is green. And so that is in the book. We see that in Wicked. We do not see that in the movie, The Wizard of Oz. They don't wear the glasses.
That's true. Instead, in the Emerald City, we get a whole little makeover montage.
Once they're getting ready to go send Dorothy home, they get their makeup in this.
I didn't remember that.
Everyone was dressed in green.
So this is what's interesting is in the movie, we have the iconic green Wicked Witch of the West. Her skin is green. But in the Emerald City, it's a bunch of white people, but everyone's dressed in green and the whole city is green. In the book, we have the soldier now blew upon a green whistle. And at once a young girl dressed in a pretty green silk gown entered the room. She had lovely green hair and green eyes, and they call her the green girl. But the bed has sheets of green silk, and the tiny fountain in the middle of the room shot a spray of green perfume into the air. There was a green marble basin, beautiful green flowers, green books. The wardrobe had many green dresses that all fit Dorothy. Literally everything is green, including, it seems like, the people, just not the witch.
I liked in the television series Once Upon a Time.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
work your way into a couple of seasons, the Wicked Witch shows up. She is green, but they have a backstory about how and why she's green. And it's because she was a very jealous person. And I won't spoil why and all of that. She's so jealous, it literally turns her green.
Oh my goodness, and that actress, she was so good
I love her.
in Once Upon a Time as the Wicked Witch. She's so beautiful. Her eyes, they are so piercingly blue.
Her red hair.
Mhm. Yes. Zelina.
Galena is her name, the Wicked Witch.
And the actress's name is Rebecca Mader. And the only other thing I've seen her in is in The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh,
She
yeah!
is she is the assistant who holds up the 2 turquoise belts to Meryl Streep and goes, "Ugh, I know, they're so different."
Do you know what? I think she's in Lost as well.
She's in Lost?
Let me see. For some reason, that's in my head.
I know Regina from Once Upon a Time is in Lost briefly.
Rebecca Mader's in 22 episodes of Lost, and I really liked her in that show as well.
Did I have an aneurysm? Huh? 22 episodes is significant. Who was she? What am I missing?
You've got to watch Lost again.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it. Ray's never seen it.
Okay.
I think he's seen most of season 1, and that's it. So she is the Wicked Witch in Once Upon a Time, and she's
She ended up
great.
being one of my favorite characters.
That's a big statement. I know I got to her storyline. I cannot remember if I completed it. I've never completed Once Upon a Time.
I know. You're not
Yeah.
missing anything after season 6. Season 7 is we won't go there.
Those are fighting words, I'm sure, for some of our listeners, Mom.
This wonderful world that Frank Baum created stands the test of time.
It does. So one big thing, though, Glinda is not the Good Witch of the North, as we're used to from the movie. She's the Good Witch of the South. The
Mhm.
Good Witch of the North doesn't even have a name.
Nope.
We are acquainted with every witch, north, south, east, west, in the book, not in the movie. Although technically we're not really acquainted with the Wicked Witch of the East. She's squished. You know, she's our
Right.
cheers, squished witch. But the Good Witch of the North hangs out with the Munchkins. She's chilling with them. She's described as being very short and homely, and she wears a lot of blue. And she's got a pointed hat, much like our stereotypical witch that we often think of. Glinda, the Good Witch of the South, is described as just stunning. She's gorgeous and she's very kind. And I love that she has this big tee-hee moment of like, "Oh, you could have gone home the whole time." Okay, I think that's everything from me for the book.
So, if we're gonna start talking about the movie, I have a wonderful story I always think about when I think about the movie. My dad was born in 1930. So when the movie came out, it was 1939, he was 9 years old, and he remembers seeing it in the theater for the first time. And the movie starts off, it's black and white, and back then, there weren't a whole lot of movies in color yet. And so they're watching the movie, it's black and white. Dorothy, who is played by Judy Garland, sings "Somewhere Over the Rainbow," it's beautiful, and then the tornado comes, lifts the house, it crashes, and Dorothy and Toto go to the door, and when they open the door and they look out, everything is in color. And my dad said the whole auditorium just gasped because it was so beautiful and so vibrant in a world that they had never seen before. So I
Mhm.
love thinking about that image of dad going into that theater, and it starts black and white, just like all the other movies back then. And then it turns into that technicolor beautiful world of Oz, which is over the rainbow. A neat story from my dad.
It reminds you of why that shared experience is so nice when you go to see movies in the theater. It's something that is just really lacking nowadays, especially post-COVID, unfortunately, and now with the rise of streaming services. It's so rare to have a really nice shared experience with a bunch of strangers in a theater to where you're all just enjoying the same movie. And I know I grew up with several experiences like that, but my kids haven't and probably won't unless something changes, I don't know. I know that the most recent experience I had like that was going to see the Taylor Swift filmed concert and then her album release. The theater was packed, and it was a shared experience where we were all just having a great time, but honestly, going to see regular movies nowadays, it's just such a different experience than it was when I was growing up. So I love that story about Granddaddy experiencing that Technicolor surprise that no one
Yeah.
saw coming.
Well, they didn't have televisions back then, and so they would go to the movie theater, and it was
Mhm.
a nickel, and you got 2 shows, 2 movies, and this is coming out of the depression, so, yes, it was just a great time,
Now going to the
for the
movies costs like $60 for 2
uh
people.
I haven't been to a movie with a packed audience in years, years.
I remember you telling me your Schindler's List experience.
Nothing compares to that one, nothing, and we'll never get to talk about it, so Schindler's List, I went to see that in the theater, it was packed, absolutely, completely packed full of people, and it is such an incredibly moving, touching, heartfelt film, and at the end, no one got up, no
Mm,
one spoke. Every one of us sat through every bit of the credits, every credit. We're all sniffing, you hear sniffles, and no one spoke. And
mm,
when it was completely over, everyone got up in silence,
mm.
and we walked out of that theater. I've never experienced another movie like that. It was
Sounds like there
just
was a reverence around the film.
it was it's so shocking that that happened in the first place. And then to see that brought to life like that, and it's filmed in black and white,
Mhm,
which is it's very different in this day and age.
mhm.
It was excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's shocking that that happened in real life, and the film actually watered a lot of it down
Mhm.
because Spielberg said audiences wouldn't believe it if he told it the way it happened.
You couldn't show a lot of that what they did either. You I could not watch things that I've heard happened during that time. I
Mm.
couldn't watch it.
Yeah, it's a powerful movie. Well, I will just say that I had some really fun shared experiences in movie theaters. I went to a really small private school for college, and when I first started going, the first Hunger Games movie came out. And it lined up perfectly with my time in school because I got to go every year to the Hunger Games for free because my school would rent out a movie theater and would have tickets available to everyone, but the way they did it was they would have a certain number of tickets available. They would have different quote unquote districts. So they had 12 districts on our campus, and we could be in the middle of class. It did not matter. As soon as the tweet went out with the clues of where the next district, we were running out in the middle of class to go find the district because the first 12 people there got goodie bags along with the tickets.
Wow, that's fun.
And they did this for every movie, all 4 of them. So the week the Hunger Games would come out every year, we would be in class checking our phones like, "Sorry, professor, whatever you have to say is not as important as this."
Who cares if there's a test going on?
Doesn't matter. It did not matter. And I know it drove our professors insane, but it was Hunger Games tickets, okay? And then when the Hunger Games premieres came, we would show up at the theater. We had free tickets and we would pack those theaters and getting to be there. You weren't just in there with a whole bunch of people who loved the Hunger Games. I was surrounded by friends. And that just enhances the experience. I love that my school leaned into that, and it was great that they provided that for us because those are memories that I'll have forever, and it was great. And Mom, did you know that we can probably cover the Hunger Games on our podcast? It is currently being turned into a West End musical.
That's exciting. There's another
I
book
know.
that is currently being turned into a West End show as well, and we'll get into that later tonight.
Oh, okay, so the movie. I think, honestly, for anyone listening, it has to be the movie that they're most familiar with. One of the questions I had for you, Mom, did you grow up reading the book or were you just familiar with the movie as a kid?
I do not remember reading the book growing up, ever. I don't remember. If dad ever did read it to us, I don't remember it. So I didn't read it until I was an adult.
Because I know I didn't grow up reading it. I grew up with the movie. I didn't read it until Glenn and Joy gifted me my beautiful copy of it. I had read The Sisters Grimm before I actually read The Wizard of Oz. And so when Sabrina is putting on this golden cap and, saying the spell and everything, I was lost in the sauce. I had no idea what was going on with this spell. So to then read the book and see that that actually happens in the story, it cracked me up that that actually came from the original book. So, one thing when we talked about this privately between just you and me, you talked about how different lands in the world of Oz have different color themes, it seems like. It's not just the Emerald City. Isn't that right?
Right. The Winkies were blue, and we see that they are the guards who work for the evil queen. They're kind of like her slaves. And so when she does die, this is in the book, when she dies, they are freed. But in the movie, I think they are the Winkies who are her guards, her soldiers, but they are not in blue. They're dressed in that red and black uniform.
And they have the green skin.
Yes, they do, like the Wicked Witch. And so since we're talking about the movie, we can talk about the slippers and
Yes.
why they're ruby. So the silver did not show up well in the Land of Oz in the Technicolor, and they needed to make the shoes a different color so they would stand out better, and they chose the ruby red slippers that were just beautiful. And the tornado scene in the movie is so good. What's amazing is they have, a miniature version of how they made that tornado look so real. The miniature's like this big, but they built that tornado and they made it spin. Just the technology that they had at that time, it was so good. That tornado looked fantastic. It would rival tornadoes today that are CGI. That tornado is excellent in The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, I rewatched the movie recently and I still look at that tornado and think, that's incredible. It looks so good. It's scary. It's a scary tornado. And I think if I remember right, they made it using a stocking.
Yes.
That is wild.
And the flying monkeys were miniatures, and they were only about this big, and there were
Okay,
only
how
some
big for our listeners?
Oh, only maybe 4 inches tall? They were very small, and at the Oz Museum in Wamego, I think 3 are left, and they used to have them displayed, but they're really feeling the age, they're really starting to kind of disintegrate, and so I think
Oh.
last I heard, the last time I was in the museum, they had taken those monkeys out of the museum, but I have pictures of the monkeys, and they are not big at all. It is amazing how they made them. Sure, you can watch and you can tell they may not be that great technologically compared to what we can do
Oh,
today, but
now that is one part where the Wicked Witch is standing at her window going, "Fly, my pretties," or whatever she's saying. "Fly, fly." And you can look in the background and see all the quote unquote monkeys, and they're just stationary. They're just stationary. Basically, they look like cardboard cutouts, honestly. It's just black against a brown background of, what may be sort of flying monkeys moving slowly across the screen.
when they go and they're supposed to pick up Dorothy, and they pick her up and they're showing the monkey carrying her flying in the sky, and you see her little legs just going, "Er, er, and it just
Who,
looks
Dorothy's legs?
Dorothy's
Okay.
legs.
When we see the silhouette of them, the small silhouette of them in the sky, yes, and her legs just look like they're moving like robot legs, just back and forth.
It was great at that time, and it was scary, and you are
Yeah.
looking at that witch, those monkeys fly off with Dorothy and Toto. Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, as a child, did I ever question it? Absolutely
No,
not.
no.
And
So
then
you
you have the kids nowadays, like my son, who is watching Tuck Everlasting and seeing Jessie and Winnie in the river going, "They're not really swimming, they're standing."
you do what you
It's
gotta
like
do.
it's called suspending your disbelief, my child. It's called just enjoying the story.
So you wanted to talk about the poppies and
Yeah. Okay. So in the movie, if I remember right, so Toto, the lion, and Dorothy, just like in the book, they all pass out from the poppies. In the movie, it's the Wicked Witch who puts a spell. Oh, it's poppies, poppies. She's trying to stop Dorothy from getting from doing what exactly? I know she wants the slippers, but why? Why is she
keeping
making
them
her fall asleep in a poppy field?
keeping them from getting to the Wizard of Oz, to the Emerald City.
Okay, there you go. I guess that's what it is. So Dorothy and the Lion and Toto all fall asleep. And I know the Tin Man and the Scarecrow are freaking out. And if I remember right, the Tin Man is sort of useless. He's
But
rusting because he's crying. Everyone is rendered useless except for the Scarecrow. And this becomes important, much like our lovely Green Queen, the Wicked Witch of the West, played by the incredible Margaret Hamilton, by the way. We have Green, Wicked Witch of the West, and Scarecrow, who is the only one who keeps his wits about him. Well, if we can call them wits, who remains conscious basically during the poppy scene. Gregory Maguire, in writing Wicked, which we will cover later, not in this episode, but Gregory Maguire, when he wrote Wicked, he didn't just draw from L. Frank Baum's World of Oz. He picked some things from that world, but he also chose some things directly from the movie that we know and love. So where he might have still stuck with the silver slippers, he also decided to go with the green Wicked Witch of the West that we're used to because of the movie. So it's just something interesting. But also another thing that he stuck with was the fact that the Scarecrow is the only one who stayed awake in the poppy fields.
well, the Tin Man's awake as well.
Yeah, okay. But the Tin Man isn't useful, is the point. And I know that in the book the Scarecrow's not either. But there's a really big hint about this in the first Wicked movie that came out that we'll talk about later. There's only one person other than Elphaba who is not susceptible to the poppy making everyone fall asleep.
So, in the poppy field, the Scarecrow and Tin Man keep going, "Help! Help! Help! Help!" And that's when we see Glinda, the good witch, she makes it snow, and the snow is what wakes up the lion and Dorothy and Toto, and the lion's classic line, "Mighty peculiar weather we're having." I love him. He does a great job. I love how the movie brings us some different characters into the beginning. In the book, we only have Aunt Em and Uncle Henry and Dorothy and Toto. That's it. But in the movie, they have some field hands who work for them on the farm, and they are the same actors who play the Scarecrow, the Tin Woodman, and the Cowardly Lion. And
Yeah.
then we also have Mrs. Gulch, who
Yes.
comes in riding her bicycle. Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun. She portrays the Wicked Witch in Oz. Then we also have Professor Marvel. Professor Marvel, who isn't really a professor at all, and he's not really a marvel. He's a cheat, and kind of like the wizard. And so
Well, we like him.
we love him. He's wonderful. But he is Oz in Oz Over the Rainbow. So it's neat to see these actors in the black and white part. They're part of the story. And then when she ends up in Oz, they're in Oz, but they're different characters. And
Mhm.
so that's a really, really nice concept that the director came up with, the writers and the director came up with.
Frank Morgan, who plays Professor Marvel and the Wizard of Oz, we have to also mention that he played how many different characters in this movie?
So many. The guard at
He
the door, the
Mhm.
guard at the gate, the man who drove the horse of different colors. Yes.
Yes, so he's at least 5 different characters that I can think of off the top of my head. He's 5
Mhm.
different characters in The Wizard of Oz, and all so different.
Mhm.
So he's wonderful. I like the addition of these other characters in the beginning in her sepia world before she goes to Oz. I like that we get a little bit more backstory on Dorothy and Professor Marvel. His whole goal is, "Oh, this is a young girl. She's just a kid running away from home. I need to find a way to convince her to go back home." So he uses his manipulative powers to convince her, "Hey, maybe you should go back home to your Aunt Em. Your aunt is really gonna miss you being away from
Yeah.
home." Billy Burke, the lovely actress who played Glinda,
Mhm.
do you know her full name?
No.
Okay, some of the exhibits from the Oz Museum when it was under renovation, they came over to the Columbian Theater to be on display for free to anyone who wanted to come into the Columbian and see it in the gallery. And while they were down there, I was doing a show and I was looking around and I stumbled upon this little fact and I will never be able to forget it. And it's Billy Burke's full name. This is the actress who played Glinda the Good Witch in the movie. Her full name was Mary William Ethelbert Appleton Burke.
Wow. Where'd you get Billy?
And I think that's great. I love her name. It's like Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore.
Except hers was real.
We have her coming in a bubble. Okay, that doesn't happen in the book, right? Glinda doesn't appear in
Mm-mm.
a bubble. I
Mm-mm.
don't know where they got the idea for a bubble, but they really enjoyed showing that graphic off.
It was good.
Yeah. I remember always looking forward to that part of the movie as a kid. I remember just being so excited to see Glinda come in her big pink bubble. And
Mhm.
that there she is in her beautiful, fluffy pink ball gown with her giant sparkly crown and her little wand. Well, it's a very long wand with a tiny little star. She just has such a classic look. I love her.
Well, I love the Munchkins. That's the only land that we see besides the Emerald City
It's
itself. In the
true.
movie, it's just Munchkin Land, and it's so beautiful. So beautiful. One thing that I liked about Disney's Hollywood Studios was when they used to have the Great Movie Ride, which they don't anymore. And
Yeah, I was gonna talk about it too.
you got to ride through Munchkin Land, and it was just so neat to be able to feel like you were in it, which you can't do that anymore, kids.
Yeah, when they announced several years ago that they were getting rid of the Great Movie Ride at Disney World, I was devastated because that was one of
Yeah.
my favorite rides. But I
Mhm.
guess, people just didn't connect with a lot of those movies anymore. Most of them were classic films. I think one of the newest ones they had, let's see, they had one of the Indiana Jones movies, but they also had,
Alien,
and I think those were,
and
like, the most recent films.
those aren't new anymore.
Nope, but getting to ride through Munchkinland and to see the animatronics of Glinda and Dorothy and the Wicked Witch come up with all the smoke, and then she disappears. Oh, it was wonderful. Bring back the great movie ride, Disney.
Munchkinland is just phenomenal. It's got the Yellow Brick Road, wonderful songs, the Lollipop Guild. That's what I couldn't wait for all the time. I loved the Lollipop Guild, 3 munchkins who come out and they sing, "We represent the Lollipop Guild," and they give her this giant sucker lollipop. It's this big, and I loved them. They were one of my favorite little scenes.
Remind me, do trees throw apples at them in the book? I can't remember if that happens.
So it's very interesting. The movie is different in that throughout their travels to get to the Emerald City, we see the Wicked Witch trying to keep them from getting there. She causes trees to throw apples at them. We see her come and she sets the scarecrow on fire, the poppy field. She is trying to hinder them from moving forward. We never see her in the book.
No, she even
She's
does
never there.
the big scene flying on her broom in the sky with the black smoke saying, "Surrender, Dorothy," written across the sky.
In the
Yeah,
book.
you're right. We have not mentioned that Dorothy, because I think we take it for granted that everyone is gonna know this. So, Dorothy, we have Judy Garland playing her in her big breakout role. She had done smaller things, leading up to this, she had done some vaudeville, but this is the movie that made her famous, and she's she's perfect. There's nothing else to be said about it. Her Somewhere Over the Rainbow is still what everyone knows. And we have Ray Bolger as the Scarecrow, and we have Jack Haley as the Tin Man, and Bert Lahr as the Cowardly Lion. And I already mentioned Billy Burke as Glinda and Margaret Hamilton as the Wicked Witch of the West, and Frank Morgan as the Wonderful Wizard of Oz. That's the main cast. And this is another reason why this movie should never be remade, because can you imagine trying to recast any of those characters? It works for something like Wicked, but to try to redo The Wizard of Oz, it's not happening. They have cemented those characters in our memories.
Yeah, The Wizard of Oz is beloved. We covered, Meet Me in St. Louis, which has that classic performance by Judy Garland, and I just think it's very hard to replicate this entire movie's cast. Margaret Hamilton, she was the Wicked Witch of the West. I mean, she was just
Mhm.
wonderful and just a fantastic cast.
I totally agree. And it's just beautiful. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was just the fact that they brought this legendary mythical world to life in such a beautiful way with all the colors and using Technicolor to their advantage. I don't know if it's the story itself. I don't know what it is about this story that has lasted through the decades and the generations to still be so well known, so iconic, so quotable. But you can go places and see imagery from the movie and recognize it as The Wizard of Oz, and you know exactly where it came from, and you don't even have to be that familiar with it to know, "Oh, yeah, that's The Wizard of Oz." Victor Fleming was the director of this movie, and boy, what a feat to have as part of your legacy, is that you can say you were the director of The Wizard of Oz.
It's funny, and he stood up for Judy Garland when they're going down the yellow brick road and their arms are linked. She's between 2 of these men, and they're skipping along the road, and they tended to kinda squeeze her out, and Mr. Fleming, "Hey, guys, give the little girl some room. Give her some room. She needs to be seen too on the yellow brick road." So, he stood up for her.
It's also cool to see that it still shows up in pop culture. The Wizard of Oz is still showing up in modern references, like in the show Phineas and Ferb. If anyone knows it, it's an animated TV show that was on Disney Channel, for several years and now has had, like, a recent comeback, and it's amazing. But Candace, the older sister, she rides a bicycle, and there comes a point later in the seasons when anytime she's on her bicycle, she gets her own little theme, and it's always when she's out to bust her brothers. But you hear this little da-dun, 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 da da anytime she's riding her bicycle. That is the musical theme that's played for the Wicked Witch of the West in the movie. And it's
Mhm.
so easily identifiable, and the first time I noticed it watching Phineas and Ferb, I laughed for so long because I thought it was a hilarious reference. And then there's also The Emperor's New Groove. It's an animated Disney movie if you've never seen it. They're looking at the different potions and they go, "Lions, tigers, bears," and then you hear Yzma say, "Oh my," and that's a direct quote from the movie The Wizard of Oz. "Lions and
Right?
tigers and bears, oh my." It's everywhere.
It is very quotable. There's no place like home,
There's
and
no place like home.
that's what Dorothy says once she gets home. "Oh, Auntie Em, there's no place like home." When she realizes I didn't need to run away, that there is nowhere that's as good as being home.
Yeah.
And of course, we know as adults, home is where your heart is. Home is where you make it. And we're military, we move so much. Home is where we are together.
Yeah.
Wherever we go, we are home.
And that's what I like is they really focus on that. That is the theme of the movie. Absolutely. I don't think it's so much focused on that each of the characters had the qualities that they were so desiring the whole time. It's more focused on home is where your heart is. There is no place like home, and home is where your family is. And I think that's probably why the movie ends where it does. We see the wizard, we see the big reveal. He gives away his silly little prizes that have nothing to do with actual brains or courage or heart. He goes off in his flying balloon, but then Glinda again shows up. There is no Witch of the South in the movie. She shows up and says, "Oh dear, oh my dear, you had it with you all the time." And she tells her, "Click your heels together 3 times and say, 'There's no place like home.'" And she does, and she wakes up because the whole thing was a dream,
Right.
but
Right.
she's so happy to be home.
I've only seen one stage version, and it was very similar to the movie, and, it had the, same music and stuff from the movie, but what I didn't know was there is a newer version of a musical, which I would love to see. It's from 2011, and,
Wow.
the book was adapted by Andrew Lloyd Webber and
What?
Jeremy Sims.
Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Mhm, and the musical uses the Harold Arlen and E.Y. Harburg songs from the film, but also includes some new songs and additional music by Lloyd Webber with additional lyrics by Tim Rice.
What? Okay, Mom, you have to explain who these people are for our listeners who may not be familiar with these names. These are huge names in the theater world.
Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice are just the creative geniuses of, let's just say, Phantom of the Opera. If you've ever heard that, they collaborate together for many,
Yeah.
many, many things.
They're theater
I need to
royalty.
find this. They are. I need to find this now, and it's Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber. They do have the iconic songs that we all know and love, "Over the Rainbow," "Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead," "If I Only Had a Brain," "We're Off to See the Wizard," "If I Only Had a Heart," "If I Only Had the Nerve." All of those are the same, "The Merry Old Land of Oz," but they did write other songs to go along with the musical. But yeah, the one that I saw was the music that we're used to, but this is interesting. So the book was published in 1900. They did have the first stage show was a musical. I don't know what the music is, but was a musical in 1902 in Chicago.
Wow. It's around Meet Me in St. Louis times.
Isn't it? A musical extravaganza. I can't even imagine what the music was. Old Frank Baum wrote some of the lyrics, but a lot of other people did too. It probably came from the book. I don't know what the music would be. But the show I saw, I was the makeup artist for. I did the makeup for the Wicked Witch, the Lion, and the Scarecrow.
Oh, that's really cool. I've never seen this done live on stage, which is weird to say because I feel like I have in a weird way. And I think it's because since I've lived in Kansas for 10 years now, I really feel like I've been surrounded by the Wizard of Oz for so long, the whole time I've been here because of Wamego, Kansas, where my husband's from, and because I've done so much theater in that area. We do not live in Wamego, but Wamego really leans into the Wizard of Oz, as they should. It's such a perfect little town for it. The city playground is called the Emerald City Playground, and the big structure that the kids can play on is green, and it's looks like the Emerald City. There is a little yellow brick road you can walk down that's off of Main Street, and you get to see as you walk down it, you see murals painted by local artists that
Yeah.
depict the illustrations from the book. There's the Oz Museum, there's everything on Main Street, or most of the businesses on Main Street have which is actually Lincoln Street, but is their main street. They have names that are related to Oz. So there's the Emerald Door, there's Oz Winery, where I got the Squished Witch wine that I'm drinking. There's Poppy Teas, I think.
When you exit the interstate to go to Wamego, the road that you're on is actually called the Road to Oz.
Yes. And their main water tower is painted to look like a giant hot air balloon.
Yeah. It's
So
won
it's a lot of
awards.
fun. Yes, it has. And they just fully embrace the land of Oz, and, they have Oztoberfest every year. It's the first Saturday of October every year, and it's so much fun.
The Wizard of Oz is such a special book that we're gonna spend a month in Oz because there have been things
Yay!
that have branched off because of this book and L. Frank Baum's world. It is so important in our history of literature and stage and film. So we are going to be spending a month in this wonderful land of Oz, and we're looking forward to it.
The wonderful land of Oz. I have a couple of questions for you. Which version, book, movie, or stage, do you prefer?
Well, I have to say the movie because that's what I grew up with. It's what I
So
know.
movie trumps
Except
book?
I yes, the movie trumps the book because 1, I like music, and 2, Judy Garland was phenomenal, and if I could add anything, I would add the little porcelain people.
Mhm.
I loved them in the book.
Yeah, and I think I should say we are aware. Trust me, for all of you who are screaming at us from your homes right now, we are aware that there are other films that exist. Like we know that there's Return to Oz. We know. We don't like it, we don't care.
We're
And if
not
you want
talking about it.
to rip us apart for that in the comments, please do so. We would love that. Please go ahead and let us know why we need to give that a chance. And if there's enough people who think that we should cover that film, okay, fine, we will. Maybe we'll post something special for that, but there's gonna have to be a significant amount of you who really want us to cover Return to Oz, and also Oz the Great and Powerful, starring James Franco and Michelle Williams
Yeah, no.
and Rachel Weisz and Mila Kunis. It's a fantastic cast. Not gonna deny it. It was a terrible movie. That's that's a fully subjective statement. You are allowed to disagree. Please disagree in the comments.
Well,
Go
I
for it.
agree with you. It was horrible.
I did not enjoy it. But I will say, Mom, to your point about the porcelain people, the porcelain people are represented in that movie.
I don't
That's the
remember.
only time I've ever seen them.
I saw that movie once, and I've wiped it from my mind.
It had so much potential, and it just fell flat for me personally.
Sort of like The Sorcerer's Apprentice with Nicolas Cage.
What a bummer. Again, it had so much promise.
Yeah.
So, yes, no, trust me, we are aware that these movies exist, and we don't really wanna spend much more time on it than that.
However, next week, we will be bringing forward another spinoff from The Wizard of Oz, from the book.
It's a spinoff that is so good that we are gonna spend an entire episode on it. Do you wanna
Yes.
go ahead and say what it is? You might as well.
Absolutely, we can. We are gonna be talking about The Wiz. I really look forward to it, and that it's important enough to have its own episode.
I totally agree. I'm so excited to talk about The Wiz. So
Mhm.
excited. So, yeah, don't worry. We're getting there. We think The Wiz deserves its own episode, so we're gonna wait and give it its time because it deserves a lot of time. And if no one has ever heard of The Wiz, what are you doing? Get on it.
Well, don't watch one. Well, you'll have to watch the episode to see what you should watch.
Be like, "Hey." Be like, Laura, Victoria, why did you tell us to watch this? We don't understand." So, it's gonna be great. Please do all the things. Please remember to if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for being a part, and I know it may sound silly, but I get really excited when we get subscribers on YouTube, and we have 17 subscribers now. Yes! Thank you so much. Thanks for subscribing. I hope that, we continue to entertain and give you fun information.
Yes, we're so excited. Thank you so much. We have hit over 200 followers on Instagram, and we're really excited about that. We are virtually unknown. We're very private people. And so it's really exciting that we just started out on this little venture and we already have 200 followers on Instagram and we have 17 subscribers on YouTube. That's really, really exciting to us. So thank you so much to those of you that have subscribed and that are listening to us and watching us. We hope you're getting something out of it. And please, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll be reminded of anything we drop next. And please remember to follow us on watching_books at Instagram. And mom and I also have our own personal Instagrams that you can easily find if you go to our main watching_books Instagram page. And with that, thanks. We love you guys.
Yes, have a wonderful, wonderful week, and come back next week as we watch book.
Bye.